This scene from ReZero is great. It depicts a character we've known as obnoxious for so long, finally breaking down and explains the underlying insecurities and premises behind all of his unusual actions. And that leads us to the problem. When you introduce a character, you don't have any of the information that makes the great scenes great. So can a character introduction actually be great in the first place? Maybe. Let's try. So in order to handle this problem of character information, we need to figure out how to convey as much character information as possible in a short amount of time/word/shots. You might at first object. Doesn't that mean we should just spam walls of text about a character? No. This is actually time inefficient since we need to carry on with the scene after going through the blog. It would be superior if we could progress the story simultaneously with our introduction. Fortunately, I've come up with 3 ways to do this, and the last one is my favorite. Let's go. So the first way is to show a character trying to solve a problem. We'll start with the introduction to Peter in Spider-Man 1. The problem Peter faces is that he's late for school and is trying to catch the bus. How does he deal with it? Well, he acts like a wimp. All his visual cues show us he's stressed and anxious, but we can go deeper. Why is he trying to run after a bus instead of catching a ride? After all, running after the bus along a street is dangerous. This tells us that Peter will often not think problems through fully, and that he'll act haphazardly and not anticipate the broader consequences of what he does. So now we've got a list of character traits, just from a few seconds of footage, and amazingly, these perfectly imply later events that'll take place in the story. Yup. This both introduces a character and moves the story along in just a few seconds. But what we've learned abstractly, when we introduce a character solving a problem, we learn about their general response to problem solving. Are they enthusiastic or stressed? Are they confident or anxious? Do they think or do they feel? This information supplants every event of a story. Let's apply this to the reintroduction of Peter in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. This scene is the near opposite of the first. Peter is confident, enthusiastic, etc., but he has a lack of critical thought underlying his mindset. Once again, this anticipates future events in just a single scene, letting us both learn about a character and progress the story. It's no wonder people shilled this scene so much. It deserves it. Argument is a great way to introduce a character for one reason. It exposes them to a variety of emotional inputs. When in an argument, is the character logical and calculated or emotional? If they're wrong, do they get angry and evade or accept their mistakes? Why are they wrong? What premises do they claim to hold? What do they actually hold? If they're right, are they a cocky bitch or are they respectful? Let's look at the introduction to Syndrome in Incredibles.
Well, I'm Incrediboy!
What?
Here, Mr. Incredible and the boy who will become Syndrome, the antagonist of the film, argue over whether Syndrome should help Mr. Incredible with his heroic duties. Before Mr. Incredible can even form an argument, Syndrome starts blabbering. This sets up Syndrome as a terminal evader, that is. He's someone who is not interested in the truth of whether he should be there or not, and wants to go off mere feelings. This gives us a general rule about him. He doesn't think things through, and instead operates consistently on whim. This trait is proved real in every following Syndrome scene. This scene simultaneously gets us more characterization of Mr. Incredible too, which achieves our initial goal of getting as many plot details as possible conveyed in a single scene. The next scene is from Ratatouille. Here our main character, Remy, has a dream of eating and making good tasting food, as well as a dislike of stealing. His dad, on the other hand, is arguing that stealing is fine, and doesn't care for good tasting food, and that's why all of these rats end up eating food from junk heaps. As the argument continues, we learn that Remy wants to steal food from the kitchens instead, where the food will be better and he'll be able to cook, but his dad rejects this idea because of the danger of going into humans' kitchens. What do we learn about Remy and his dad here? So one, we have that Remy is ambitious and desires to learn and create. On the reverse, his dad loves stagnation and sameness. Remy, though he can think, will tend towards irrationality to risk his life for his passions. His dad, on the other hand, holds safety as his highest value. He's not willing to take any risks. Like in all other cases, this movie sticks to the character traits outlined, letting us predict exactly how characters will react to the given pieces of information. Remy eventually does end up going to the kitchen and trying to steal food, and he is punished for it with almost losing his life and being separated from his family. As the story goes on, he makes more and more of these decisions. It's just like before. When an introductory scene conveys enough information, the character's decisions will make sense for the rest of the story. Finally, it's time for the best, most clear, thought-provoking, and engaging way to introduce a character. Show them relaxing. But I've got a problem. I don't exactly have a single example from the film. Was it that I couldn't find one? Nah, it's because the best one I've seen is from a different type of media. I know none of y'all have read this book, I'll catch you up to speed. Howard Rourke is the realest fella on the planet. Everyone else is a stinky lover of traditional architecture while Rourke wants to innovate art for modern humans. This is the paragraph that introduces him. Howard Rourke laughed. He stood naked at the edge of a cliff. The lake lay far below him. A frozen explosion of granite burst in flight to the sky over a motionless water. The water seemed immovable, the stone flowing. The stone had the stillness of one brief moment in battle when thrust meets thrust, and the currents are held in a pause more dynamic than motion. The stone glowed, wet with sun rays. Pretty cool, right? This shows him relaxing to the scene of granite exploding, and all the details emphasize the greatness of it towards him. Specifically, it implies things about his role as an architect. Granite is a material used for construction. The explosion represents his drive to create things from raw materials, the way an architect would, emphasizing his love for the craft. Furthermore, an explosion itself is characterized by energy, which matches his enthusiasm towards architecture as the story goes on. This is the root of why relaxation is so great. Humans, when we relax, pay attention to our surroundings and pick out the things we love. When a character relaxes, we immediately know what they find valuable or invaluable about the world around them. Rourke's passion shows itself in every scene that follows. This, just like every other example, is the essence of a proper character introduction. With this knowledge you've gained, stop procrastinating on that scene of yours.